Okay, so they're passed, yeah? Okay, of course. Right, moving on, we have...
Any comment about minutes at this juncture? Stephen, the record?
You can make a comment about
Thank
minutes.
you, Chair. So just for the record, a very brief statement, if I can take a few minutes of the time. So on July the 9th, I received and reviewed an audio recording of the May 20th council meeting, one day after the minutes were approved on the July the 8th meeting. The recording clarified that the proceedings differed from the recorded minutes, helping me understand the sequence of events on that really unusual evening. According to our standing orders, number 8, any change to the previous resolutions requires a special motion with written notice from at least 5 councillors. I intend to pursue this before our next meeting. If I secure the support of at least 5 councillors, I will request that the minutes be updated to accurately reflect the events of that evening.
Okay, if you'd like to give a copy of that so we don't get it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, moving on. Public question time. We have 3 people who have requested to speak, and the order in which their requests were received were Mr. Baum, Mr. Campion and Mr. Hill. So before you speak, the council has been made aware of residents posting information to various social media sites regarding the parish council. The council will not be answering any questions regarding this or any HR related matters during this meeting. Thank you. Mr. Baum, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes. Do we have Mr. Baum in the... Oh well, it's a shame. Okay, Mr. Campion, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Elvin has made several remarks that there can't be any truth in the statements I've made towards him or the clerk, for the simple fact I hadn't raised a complaint. Last month, Ken, you put forward a motion to approve minutes, knowing it contained false statements about me, and in doing so, gave me the perfect opportunity to raise the complaint. I have backed up every one of my statements about your conduct, not only against you, but against all that voted in favour of the minutes. You were all there, you all know what happened, yet 5 of you lied. Councillor Neame urged you to consider your position, but undeterred, you approved them anyway. Ken, Julie, Margaret, you are all now subject to investigations with the borough's monitoring officer. Chris has since resigned, but he is still subject to possible disciplinary action. The minutes state on the 20th of May, the chair adjourned the meeting and asked me to leave. Ken, you're the chair. When did you adjourn the meeting? At what point did you ask me to leave? Instead, you were recorded inviting me to stay and talk with other councillors. Now we've established you neither adjourned the meeting nor asked me to leave, I asked why you put forward a motion saying you did. In fact, I asked all of you that approved the minutes. All of you knew the minutes were wrong, but only 4 of you voted against. And Ken, with half of those attending stating you didn't agree with the minutes, why didn't you take the time to ask in what way they felt they were wrong? Esther, you drafted the minutes, and before you ran out of the room, you supposedly noted an adjournment and was asked to leave, and I was asked to leave. In a recent FOI, and knowing they were wrong, you confirmed it was your decision alone to write an unprompted email to Hollywood Community Trust stating I had caused the meeting to close, when we all know it closed because you walked out. You caused the meeting to close, not me. You're a liar, and should not be trusted to serve residents within the parish of Bray, or any other parish for that matter. Councillor Glover, you prompted Councillor Cross to raise her arm and vote in favour of the minutes. We all saw you, and a video is on YouTube. If this isn't evidence of bullying within Bray Parish Council, I don't know what is. Julie, your behaviour is disgraceful. You're the HR chair. I don't know how you can sit there. Esther, only for the fact that you are employed by Bray Parish Council can your conduct towards me not be investigated by the borough. Esther, you doctored legal advice before circulating it to councillors. Legal services wrote to you saying one thing, and because it didn't fit with your agenda, you changed it and circulated the Esther version. Councillor Wilson actually remarked on the night that the advice you provided didn't sound right, and now you know why. You had changed what it said. Do you find this behaviour acceptable, Ken? You were made aware of this 2 weeks ago, so having learnt Esther falsified minute taking and doctor's legal advice, how has she sat alongside you now? Honestly, it's bordering unbelievable that residents have to suffer this level of treatment.
Thank you. Have you finished? Okay, that's within the 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Moving on. I will say one thing. This is subject to an investigation, as Mr. Campion has said, by the monitoring officer. We'll leave it up to the monitoring officer. Okay, thank you. Next, we have Andrew Hill. Andrew, you too have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Councillor. One general question to start with on the National Planning Policy Framework. Is Bray concerned about facing an increased allocation of housing? Are you proposing to respond to the government consultation on that? The second point is the clerk wrote to me today telling me about how public questions were. Thank you. You say that a question shall not require a response at the meeting nor start a debate on the question. It seems slightly at odds with the way that the full Borough Council do it, in that you would generally expect an answer. So I wonder if that wording needs to be looked at. In general, you don't publish the background papers. So at a previous meeting, the clerk kindly provided me with all the background papers that you're getting. But I do wonder whether, as a procedure, you should generally publish all the background papers so that we as residents can understand what you're doing fully. You've just approved the minutes for July the 8th. There is a discrepancy. The agenda as was published to the members of the public had an item 35, which was to do with the complaints policy. It does not appear in the minutes on the website for what you were just approving. So, and my understanding is that I believe you moved it to part 2. If you are having a debate about a complaints policy as part of the Constitution, I don't understand why that shouldn't be done in public to explain the reasons to residents why public complaints should be handled differently in the future. And that there shouldn't be a discrepancy on your website between agendas and approved minutes. The agenda should be followed. In this agenda tonight, you've got various part 2 items. Glenborough first and the Lib Dems took over. They wanted greater transparency. And you've got an item tonight, for example, I think, on Hollyport planning consultant. Again, that feels like an item that you have discussed at previous meetings and could be discussed in front of all of us so that we know what you're doing there. There's an item, I think, on recording equipment in meetings, which sounds like a positive thing, but again, it looks like it's in part 2. And if you're talking about recording of meetings, it sounds like exactly the kind of thing to improve transparency that we would want to know about what you're doing as much as possible. So again, I wonder whether, I know that at a borough level they're trying to reduce the amount of stuff in part 2, and I wonder whether you could look at doing the same, because it's quite a long list of things on tonight's agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the recording is the cost of it. That's why it's in part 2. The chairman, I believe, has the right to move anything into part 2 if required. There's some planning stuff there, Lorraine. Would you like to comment on that? Do you feel you can? Or?
Yeah, we discussed it at the planning meeting last week, which Sam tended to mention names. And it was basically to seek council's approval that we should hire a planning consultant and do Rule 6 to support residents against the Honeyport Studios application. So the idea was, and also to put it on the agenda tonight, to discuss that and get approval from councillors with the budget to go forward. So that's what's on the agenda tonight regarding that. Does that help clarify?
I will also say that it was meant that we'd have some quotes to put forward tonight, and they would go into part 2. Unfortunately, we didn't get to receive those.
So generally it's financial stuff.
So it was after the agenda was put. Thank you.
Perhaps you could just explain to generally what goes into part 2 and what doesn't go into part 2.
So normally anything that councillors discuss regarding quotes would go into part 2, and then the resolution, i.e. who had been awarded the quote, would then be recorded in the minutes. And any expenditure over £500 would be displayed on the website at the end of the quarter.
Thank you.
Okay,